All right, we're here at South by Southwest with the one and only.
Nabihah Iqbal.
After an absolutely rapturous performance here at the 13th floor, hosted by Cream Magazine and Third Man Records, how has your South by Southwest been going? That was your final show. We caught your second show as well. How has it all treated you so far?
Well, I mean, it's been quite a unique week this week in terms of like being at a music festival. I've actually pulled out of official South by Southwest. So, yeah, we were supposed to do 10 shows, but in the end we did 8. And it's because of the official boycott, the BDS boycott, to show solidarity with Palestine. Because I found out that the main sponsor of South by Southwest is the US Army, which is, I mean, maybe in America it's not surprising, but I just think it's crazy how a music festival would ask the military to be their main sponsor, but money talks, I guess. So.
Yeah, money does talk. I agree with you on that. It's kind of insane to think about. But in the acts I caught, you were playing with yourself and then Aldous, I believe is the name, right? You and Aldous were playing together, and there are a lot of tracks that have like a really heavy drum going on and the bass as well. What do you feel is like the difference in performing as a duo rather than an entire ensemble as you've been performing here?
Well, the duo thing is like the main reasoning for it is just to be able to tour more, because normally there's 4 of us in the band, and if I could choose, I would if I had to choose between the two, like playing with a full band, you know, it's like a different experience because it's like it's just like fuller, and I wouldn't say like it's better or anything because I enjoy both, but they're different. And I think if I had to choose one, I would choose the full band. But you know, the cost of touring is so high, like insanely high, and especially at a week like this where the festival fees are really, really low. I don't think many artists will be really walking away with much from being here. So, and we've actually been touring. We've been touring for a few months now because we did like Australia and New Zealand and then straight to America for a Midwest tour, and then Al went back, but then I stayed in the States for more stuff, and then he's come back, and now we're doing another run. So it's just literally a cost thing, but at the same time, like I think the duo setup works. It's a different experience, and yeah, there is more like we have to use some more backing tracks. So I guess for the electronic ones, you have more of that feeling in it. For the ones where it feels more bandy, like it still works, but yeah, it's not the same as when we have our drummer and the bassist and everything. But hopefully, it's still a positive experience for everyone who comes to watch us, and fingers crossed next time I come to America for a tour, or maybe the time after that, I'll get to a point where I can afford to bring the 4-piece full band.
That would be really amazing. I would love to see that.
Yeah, I did it last year, but out of my own money, and now I have nothing left.
Well, save up no, next time somebody else pays for it. So in your music, I noticed there's a bit of 2 sides of it, really. I mean, there's many more, but 2 that I see are that live, that really visceral feeling of the full band ensemble, but then there is also as well that electronic feeling to it. And I was wondering, particularly with maybe the drums or something like that, how it changes how you go into a track when you're programming it versus when you're with a live drummer, you know?
Well, on the record, some of the drums are programmed and some of the tracks have live drums. If anyone listens to the album Dreamer, you'll hear it. There's tracks which have more of an electronic focus, some are more dancey. And when I was making the music, for all of those I was using like drum machines and programming it in. So when we have that like playing in the tracks, when we're performing as a 2-piece, it feels kind of actually closer to what the music sounds like on record. There's 4 tracks on the album that have live drums on them, and for that my drummer Remy Graves, who's also part of the band, they recorded the drums on those tracks, so featuring on the actual album, and they have a very different feel. And obviously because we've got those like, you know, a live drum kit on the record, then it's always preferable to be able to replicate that on the stage as well. But yeah, but in this sense, like we've got, hopefully, I mean, I never know what it sounds like from the audience's perspective because I'm just hearing it from the monitors, but hopefully you're getting the kind of like big epic sound on your side too. And as long as that's coming through, then it's okay for now.
Yeah, there were lots of moments during that set specifically where I just closed my eyes and it felt like I was listening to the record. So, I mean, the sound replication was amazing. That show sounded really fantastic. Another part of this sort of 2-sided coin that I'd like to talk about, or ask you about rather, is in your music, there is a strong emphasis on the sort of post-punk and deep into the electronic music, which is so danceable and so, I guess, primal about music. And then the other side, when you preface the track, you say that it's inspired by was it a Thomas Mann novel?
Thomas Hardy.
Thomas Hardy, pardon me. So, how do these two things come together in your music? Because it's dance music, anybody can do it, but then it's also literature, you know?
Yeah. I don't know, that's just how my brain works, I guess. I mean, is inspired by literature references. I mean, you know, when we play these South by sets, they're very compact. Like, we've got 30 minutes. So I can't. When I play headline shows, I kind of go deeper into talking about the inspiration behind each track and the different like literature references. It's interesting that you made that point. I don't think anyone's made that point to me about like, yeah, the kind of congruence or incongruence between making a dance track or a post-punk track, but then having like romantic English literature or I don't know, or Victorian Gothic novels behind it, but. Maybe it's just because I'm a geek, like a total nerd. I don't know. But I feel like one of the things I do get most inspiration from is actually reading. I think whether it's a novel or a poem, but then you connect with it in like your own way, and maybe it will take you on sort of like a thought process or like an emotional journey where you link what you read to how you feel or things that you've been through. And it's probably the same with music too. When you listen to a song, if you have an emotional reaction to it, it's like, you know, you're linking something inside you with what you're hearing. And so maybe that's the way that it's all comes together. But I also find that when I'm in the studio working on music, when I feel like I'm up against a brick wall, I can maybe read some poems. I always keep some poetry books in the studio. So I find that's a good way of resetting and just like appreciating someone else's creativity, and hopefully that will spark off another thought in my mind.
You're a woman of many passions and many skills. I mean, your Wikipedia page is like a greatest hits series of a sort. I mean, how do all of these other things that go on in your life, such as your career or your time in Pakistan, how do these things sort of find their way into your music?
Well, I think when you are an artist, whatever your kind of medium of work is, like everything that comes out of you is a product of everything that goes in, you know, like sometimes it might be really subconscious, the way that your life experiences or your emotions come out in your music. For me, it's like I'm making something, but I'm not necessarily like having this very clear sort of like didactic thought process being like, this song is going to be about how I feel right now or how I felt then. Sometimes it is, but not always. So yeah, exactly. And also it takes time as well. Like there are some tracks which come out someone's birthday.
Happy birthday.
But yeah, everything is like based on what I've been through and what I feel. And this album Dreamer is like really strongly linked to me emotionally. Like a lot of my emotion is in this record. It was really difficult for me to make, and when I was making it I went through a lot of stuff. Like I felt like the saddest I've ever been, the happiest I've ever been. I was the most sick I've ever been. I literally felt so bad for a lot of the time and felt like I was never going to be able to finish the music or do anything. Like I was feeling so low. And then actually finishing the record and having it out in the world is just, it shows me like the resilience of the human body and the human mind, because I think back to like when I was like feeling down, like physically, mentally, and now I'm on the other side and I feel like I managed it. And not only that, like now the music's out in the world, blessed that I'm getting to experience what other people feel about the music, you know, and tour literally all around the world and speak to fans, and they're telling me like about their connection to the music and how it's soundtracked certain experiences of theirs and how they feel emotionally about it. So yeah, it's just the journey, and it's not even been a year since it's come out. That's the amazing thing about music, because it doesn't matter how small or big you are as an artist. Like you could be Beyonce or you could just be like me or anyone else, and when you release a new record you actually don't know what's going to happen. Like you don't know where it's going to go, how people are going to feel about it, who's going to listen to it, where it's going to take you next in your life. And that's kind of, it's like scary and exciting at the same time. I mean, I'm sure it's not scary for Beyonce because she's sorted, but for someone, you know, at my level, like, yeah, it's exciting but also scary. And and I feel really happy. I feel really happy now, experiencing it. Yeah.
Well, you know, it's a triumph of a record. It's amazing, and it's very funny that you talk about you don't know where the record's going to take you. Because I discovered it through the radio station. Our past music director, he was doing new ads, and he read the description of yours, and I'm like, I'm in. So I picked it up and I listened to it, and I loved it, and it sort of soundtracked my fall. And I mean, now we're here talking about it, and I mean, I wouldn't be here without the radio, and I know you personally host an NTS show and have ties to radio yourself. How do you find maybe radio is important in your life?
It's really important, actually. I mean, I grew up listening to the radio, and you know, when I was a teenager, like those early years of teenage life was kind of pre-internet. So all the music that I'd find out about was mainly like from listening to the radio. You'd hear a band you'd like, and then the DJ would be like, oh, they're playing a gig here in London. So then you'd go there, and then you'd learn about other bands, like the support acts or whatever. It was very much about like listening to the radio, consuming the music that way, and then going out to the shows, whereas like now the internet's really changed all of that. But it's also changed radio, because now there are so many stations. You can tune into radio stations from all over the world. It doesn't really matter where you are. That's amazing. And for me, yeah, I've been hosting an NTS show. Oh my God, in a couple months it's going to be my 11-year anniversary on NTS. And also done a lot of stuff on the BBC. And when I first started on NTS back in 2013, I'd never, even though, you know, music is my number one passion, I never really thought about ever doing a radio show. It just kind of happened. And then it made me realize that it's such a good way of sharing music, because I DJ as well, but when you DJ at in a club or a festival, the main aim is like you want to make people dance. So you've got to play music that's going to make people dance and feel good. And you can take them on a journey. And that's still open. You could play a lot of different kinds of stuff. But there's a lot of things that I play on the radio which I know I could never play on the dance floor, because it would just clear it. But it's really interesting. And I just want to share it. It just comes from enthusiasm, you know. When you're really enthusiastic about a new band or a song that you discover, and then you have this way of sharing it with like not just your mates, but just anyone in the world who wants to listen. It's just amazing. So yeah, I love it, and maybe you love it for that reason too.
I can't personally attest to creating music, but in terms of DJing or playing on the radio, I think I can agree. I'm sure these two can agree as well. I mean, WVFS has been so much to us. Thank you so much. Also, I brought got a T-shirt for you. So,
Thank you so much. That's a cool T-shirt.
And we got stickers as well. I got
Since
stickers.
1987. That's
Yep.
my year, mate. So
Here you are.
old now.
Take some home
Oh,
to
thank
friends
you.
and family, you know.
Tallahassee. Is that fine?
That was
Okay.
perfect.
Thank you so much.